We begin tonight with a federal judge holding a hearing on whether or not to appoint an outside legal expert called a special master to review the documents seized from former President Trump's home last month. After listening to arguments from both sides, the judge did not yet rule on the issue. Instead, the judge said she'd make a decision on the issue in due course. The government argued the appointment of a special master is not needed because they've already reviewed the documents. Former President Trump's legal team requested the appointment of the outside expert last week. For more on this, Nicole Scanga joins us now from West Palm Beach, Florida. She's CBS News' Homeland Security and Justice reporter. All right, Nicole, you were in the courtroom for this hearing. What arguments did you hear the legal team for former President Trump making in favor of this special master idea?
Scott, good to be with you. And fiery arguments on both sides of the aisle today. You mentioned it, the judge here not ruling from the bench, so we await her decision in due order. The Trump team starting off their argument today by saying there needs to be a temperature lowering, that we need to lower the temperature here. They likened the FBI's seizure of documents to, quote, overdue library books. We should point out for the benefit of our viewers, we are talking about hundreds of documents with classification markings, so this is unlike the cookbook that is 2 weeks overdue on my counter back at home. But lawyers for the Trump team here beating around the bush when it came to discussions of what sort of privilege they're trying to invoke, why they feel a special master needs to be brought in, an outside expert to look through some of these documents and assess whether there is any privileged information in them. Ultimately, lawyers saying they believe there is information covered by attorney-client privilege and by executive privilege. Now, the judge did push Team Trump on the question of why is there more irreparable harm to the former president in this case if a special master is not brought in, then possible delays to the Department of Justice's ongoing criminal investigation. The Trump team didn't seem to answer that question, saying that they are flying blind because they're not sure exactly what was taken during the August 8th seizure of documents from the FBI and other materials. We should get an answer, or perhaps a more satisfying answer to that question later today, though, Scott, because the judge did order a more fulsome inventory of documents seized to be unsealed, and we are awaiting that document too.
What other arguments did the Department of Justice make today against appointing this special master?
Well, you laid it out there. One of the arguments that was made by Jay Bratt, counsel for the government, was we've already done a review of documents for attorney-client privilege in this case. The lawyers for the government also arguing here that executive privilege is not a relevant argument or a legitimate argument from Team Trump. Jay Bratt, a government lawyer, saying, quote, Mr. Trump is no longer president, and because he is no longer president, he should not have taken those documents, saying that, of course, the FBI privilege team has already sorted through documents from the former president's office. They have already identified what they're calling a small subset of those documents with attorney-client privilege potentially. So the work there is done, Scott.
From your read of things, Nicole, which side did the judge appear more convinced by during the actual arguments today?
Well, Scott, it's always difficult to read judicial tea leaves, so to speak, but the federal judge in this case expressing skepticism on both sides. She did not seem deterred from what has been a preliminary intent to allow a special master to review some of the documents here. But again, issuing that written order later. It could come today. It could come tomorrow. Now, the judge did point out, and I thought this was quite interesting, she seemed open to the idea of a special master potentially reviewing some of these documents, while simultaneously the Office of the Director of National Intelligence continuing its own assessment of national security risks. And so one of the concerns expressed by the government here was that OD&I review would have to come to a halt if a special master was in fact appointed. The judge here seeming to say, the Department of Justice would need to enjoin or temporarily halt its investigation into potential criminal wrongdoing, but she would be happy to see ODNI continue its review. Now, she hasn't officially, appointed a special master. She hasn't made a final decision here, but she did seem open to that possibility of sort of splitting the difference.
What did we learn about the potentially privileged documents they found August 8th?
Yeah, this was interesting, Scott. We expected to hear from the usual lawyers from the Department of Justice. We expected to hear from lawyers representing the former president, two new attorneys representing what's known as the FBI's filter team. And those are the officials that are sorting through the material that is seized. We heard from two lawyers representing that team today, and they spoke about a special privilege team that had sorted through documents from the former president's office to try to identify any information that could possibly contain, details that were protected by attorney-client privilege. And they found that, in this preliminary review, there were 520 pages that contained language that was, quote, legal in nature or had an identifiable attorney name attached to it. Now, those 520 pages, according to lawyers representing the FBI's filter team, were composed of 64 sets of materials. We're still waiting to learn more about exactly what was in those papers, though, Scott.
Did you leave court with any estimate on when a ruling is going to happen?
We don't know exactly when a ruling is going to happen. Of course, we know this is a high-profile case, and that was not lost on federal judge Eileen Cannon today. We are keeping an eye on the docket. I know you will too, Scott. We're also keeping an eye on the docket, as I mentioned earlier, for the unsealing of a more fulsome, a more detailed inventory of what the FBI seized during their August 8th search of Mar-a-Lago. We know from the unsealed search warrant that there was a handwritten note from the former president. There was an executive grant of clemency for one of his associates, Roger Stone. There was what was referred to as information on the president of France. We have a lot of questions about what exactly all of those things and more mean. We should get an answer to that question in the coming hours when that document is unsealed on the docket.
In West Palm Beach, Nicole Scanga, thank you very much. For more on this, Dan.